So it's not about eating healthy, it's about eating correctly. So what does that mean? Well, first I want to talk about what I even do. So I do personal training, right? And the clients will come in and I'll ask them, okay, so how was your nutrition this week? And they'll be like, okay, well, I ate okay, you know? I'm like, what does that mean? And then they'll go, I eat pretty healthy. And I go, what does that mean? I'm kind of narrowing it down and I'm getting to the center of what they're really talking about, right? I'm getting somewhere with this. So they'll say, well, I had a salad for lunch, and I had one egg for breakfast with a bagel, and for dinner, I had dinner is usually okay. It's usually a good solid protein meal, but the breakfast is like one egg, and the lunch is salad with a little bit of chicken or something, a little bit. So that's considered eating healthy, but you must eat correctly. Correctly means small meals. 3 to 5 meals is a good general idea of how many meals you should have. And the protein should be the foundation of every meal. So let's say 2,500 calories, right? This is my second video of the day, so I already posted that other one about an hour ago. So let's say 2,500 calories a day, 5 meals, 500 calories. Now, you need to figure out how much protein you need per day. Let's just use me for an example. If I weigh 160 pounds and I'm relatively lean, so let's just say 160 grams of protein per day, because if you train hard, right, with weight training, you need about 1 gram for every 1 pound of lean mass. That's another good general rule. So what does that mean, right? 160 grams, let's call it 150 just to make it easy. 5 meals a day, 30 grams of protein per meal. 30 times 5, right? 30 grams of protein per meal. 5 meals, 30 times 5, 150 grams of protein per day. So 2 more grams of protein, 32 grams, right, to get to 160. That's the math on that. If you weigh 200 pounds, but you're obese, you don't need 200 grams of protein because it's per every pound, every gram is for every 1 pound of lean mass. So if you stripped all your body fat away and you only had muscle tissue left, then that's the weight. So let's say you diet down and you're actually 150, right, from 200. You'll eat 150 grams. This is if you're training very hard, which you should be. If you're not training that hard, you don't need as much protein. Maybe you only need 100 grams of protein if you're training moderately and you're not pushing your sets to absolute failure. Maybe you're leaving 4 or 5 reps in the tank. You don't need as much protein because you're not damaging the muscle as much. What does protein do? It repairs the muscle tissue. So if you're not breaking it down, it's not going to rebuild. You don't need as much. But if you're breaking more of the tissue down, you need more protein. And again, small doses throughout the day. It's not about the one huge meal. It's just not. The best analogy is the gas tank analogy that I used earlier today. If you only need this amount of gas, why would you fill it twice as much? If anything, it's going to break the car, right? Or it's going to start to overflow, and it's just a waste. Think of it that way. You put all this food in your body in that 1 or 2 meals, body will use what it needs, the rest will go to body fat. Store it for later. Doesn't want to get rid of it because who knows when you're going to eat again. That's kind of how your body thinks, survival. Doesn't know when you're going to eat. Let's hold on to this just in case. That's what's happening. So this video is about eating correctly, not about eating healthy. Protein is the foundation of eating correctly. The rest of the calories, after you work it out, that suits the rest of the calories, or that will fill in the rest of the calories that you have left for that meal. That's how you structure a proper meal plan to lose weight or gain weight or maintain weight. If you're going to gain weight, you don't necessarily have to add so much more protein. It's more about carbohydrate and fats that get increased. Same goes for losing weight. You don't take away from the protein because that needs to stay there to hold on to the muscle tissue, right? You don't want to just diet down. You don't want to just see the weight or the number going down. The physique needs to look correct. The physique needs to look correct. So what does that mean? You can look at the scale as a judge, or you can use it as a tool, right? But it's not everything. If you're losing weight but you're getting smaller and you can see it, right, to an unrealistic an unrealistic standard, as in you're gonna look a little bit smaller, but it's really coming down, and you're really shrinking. Like you can tell, like I'm losing too much muscle. Then that's a bigger sign than just I'm losing weight. You need to either increase protein, train much harder, which is probably the number one thing. Those two things are probably the best, as well as try and get more sleep, because that's going to be something that's very hard to do when you're dieting down, because your body's starving and it's saying, dude, get up and eat something, and you're saying no, right? So this is the body. Your body's always fighting you on this. It doesn't want to lose body fat. Why would it? It thinks you're dying. It wants to hold on to body fat. I mean, if we were, if all food just went away on Earth, the biggest people will survive, and the leanest people will die off, because there's no more body fat left, and then eventually the body will chip away at your muscle. So that's just a little, human survival little thing I threw in there on how the body works, and we're not deconditioned from our thousands of years ago and how we think. That's why all this is so hard. That's why losing weight is so hard, because your body doesn't want to do it. It's fighting you. It thinks you're dying. We have not adapted to this modern society of the grocery stores and the easy access of food. And who knows if we ever will? Maybe we slowly adapt over hundreds and hundreds of years or thousands of years. But guys, we're not that far away from what we were. So that's kind of why this is so difficult to lose body fat. But if you do it long enough, a couple weeks, you will start to develop the proper behaviors, and it'll be harder to go back to what you were than it will be to stay on, which means the reward is now taking over, and it's more of a desire, I guess we'll call it, or it outweighs, right, the idea of going back to your original plan that was not working. So we got a little bit sidetracked here, but eat correctly, not healthy. Protein is the foundation of the meal. Then you pick your carbohydrate and fat sources, which is easy. You just have to make sure the calories are going to work for that meal. And how do you know how many calories you have for that meal? You need to know how many calories you have for that day. How do you know how many calories you need for that day? Well, are you trying to lose weight, maintain, or gain? Most likely you're trying to lose. That means you have to weigh yourself often enough. Doesn't have to be every day, but the more often you weigh yourself, the more accurate it's going to be. And you're going to be able to catch something early. Let's say if you're starving and you only weigh yourself once every week or 2 weeks, maybe you could have avoided that by going on the scale every other day or every day. I think is ideal, so you really know what's going on, as long as it doesn't mess with you mentally. So you get on the scale every day, right, and you take the average of the weight of every day, right? You add it all up, divide it by 7, and that's the number. And if over the weeks it's going down by, let's say, a pound a week, right, 2 pounds max probably, if you got some good body fat to lose. But if you don't have that much to lose, let's say you want to lose 20 pounds, maybe a pound a week. But if you got 50, 100 pounds, you could probably go 2 pounds a week. But at some point, you're going to drop it to a pound, because it's going to get harder and harder, and your mind is going to fight you because you're getting leaner and leaner. So the leaner you get, the harder this becomes. Eventually, you get to a lean enough state to where you want to maintain that. Ideally, for the general public, if you're a bodybuilder, then you're going to go super lean, then you're going to pop out of it, and you're going to come to something more sustainable. But most people aren't bodybuilders who are getting on stage. They just want to get lean and get rid of the shit on their sides and their fucking fat under their fucking pecs, and their face is blown out, and they can't look down because their neck fat's in the way. People want to get rid of that. you know, and they want their clothing to fit better. So that's the video. Eat correctly, not healthy.